Yo, bros, this video is about Adderall. I just got a new light here and I wanted to make a video, and it's a topic I feel really compelled to talk about. 10 years I've been on it. Well, I was on it. Weaned off recently. First 5 months of 2024, I was completely off. I felt it necessary to reset my brain. I think Adderall can be an absolute godsend for people with ADHD. It can actually create a lot of, can get you up to that homeostasis where you're able to just think more clearly and not need to have these stimming, not as many stimming things. When you can get that perfect homeostasis of Adderall, it's a game changer for your whole life, and at least it was for me. And but it's a very very easy drug to abuse, and whether you've done it a little bit or a lot, if you're on Adderall, even if you weren't actually taking a dose that was higher than what you were prescribed, there are factors like diet and exercise and sunlight and caffeine and things you can take that will make you feel more euphoric, and that can be addicting. I would argue the best way to take it is to just work out before you take an extra dose or whatever. I have more to do today, or I have, maybe I'll take one more, blah blah blah. Just go work out. Try and get some sun. If there's no sun, just do some, just exercise. Like, it will give you a more natural way to get those endorphins and get that what you're looking for, that motivation. Um, Again, you can take more and then work out, and it builds on that even more, but it's a slippery slope. And for me, um, yeah, let's get down to like, I don't know how long I'll make this video, but it's just me trying to make it around 10, 20, no more than 20 minutes. But I just want to get out um, how Adderall ultimately was not worth it for me, because here's another derivative. Here's another, like, not derivative. Here's another angle when talking about Adderall. I think there is a certain conflation between ADHD and CPTSD. People who had very chaotic childhoods tend to be diagnosed with ADHD, and it's very difficult to pin it down to just being ADHD, but because obviously your genetics and the way your genetics work with how you're raised, i.e., your parents, usually in most cases, are who raise you, and their genetics are in tandem with your environment. So it's hard to separate it. But I will say that for me, uh, I had everything in my life going for me. I had everything going good. Everything was brilliant. I lived a dream life. And the one thing that was missing was doing the work and really getting to the bottom of, like, childhood trauma, childhood neglect, lots of really, really violent and just things that really I learned a lot about, regulating and regulation and CPTSD, and how being raised with some, like, a bunch of chaos it can affect your whole way of your core values and how you look at yourself. And I would say that is a big variable with Adderall, and it can manifest in a way that I think there's a huge correlation between ADHD and being an addict, having an addict mind, alcoholism, having this addictive personality. And so and so I'm losing my train of thought here. And so it's well, I mean, it's, Adderall is a very addictive drug. So if you have that, your ADHD, you need Adderall. It's where is the line between giving these young guys or gals, but I only can speak for men in this situation, boys and men, because I feel like everything, it's it it shows differently in men and women. But anyway, so what's the line between you know doping up kids and distracting? Because for me, I was working so hard. I was so I don't know. It became like a game of how, like, if you're a gamer, the term mid maxing comes to mind. That's what I was doing. I redlined my brain. I wanted to see if I could mid max my life, and at a certain point, it became kind of clear, not so clear, but in hindsight, it became clear that I was one distracting from pain that I wasn't willing to look at yet. And since then, I've done the work and I've had to look inwardly. So pain, so distraction from pain, and just doing stuff. Like if you're just doing stuff, I mean, you're productive. You're optimizing your whatever, and at the end of the day, you can lose yourself, and I lost myself, and so I'm probably gonna do a few videos about this and try and get this is just gonna be a broad. I'm just spitballing, but again, I'm gonna start writing stuff down and get down to brass tacks here with certain topics that I really want to like, um, you know, really deep dive into. But right now, I just want to talk about kind of like more generally my experience with Adderall and maybe some things that could help somebody in reference to like dosage. A big one, it's a big thing I want to get on this video is like red flags or moments in your life that that should be a sign to start weaning off. If you're isolating, obviously if you have you live in a home and you have good people around you that might be able to keep you in check, that's paramount. If not, you live alone and you're on Adderall, it can be a very very it can go very bad very quickly, because Adderall, even if you're not abusing it, if you don't have a place to be, or if you don't have a lot of friends, there's something, you're taking it every day and you don't have a lot going on in your home. Like isolation can be absolutely brutal, because at least for me, when you take it, it justifies being inside. In other words, you can the Adderall mind will almost tell you, it's almost like an inner voice, it's almost like inner dialogue of, oh, I'm on this drug, I'm fine, and I'm fine if I'm on it and I'm inside. And you keep taking it, you can get to a point where you're actually afraid of socializing. People think I'm on it, oh, like that. It's very like social stigma, because you're rigid. You're depending if you're abusing it, or if it's isolating and abusing it, or you're just, again, it's a slippery slope. Like, what does abuse mean? Like for me, it was sometimes I would take 10 milligrams and I would be high. I'd be have a coffee with it, or even not. You get a bunch of sun, you go exercise on 10 milligrams of Adderall. You're flying high and you're telling people what's up. You're like, everything. I'm like, I got the key. I figured it out, and I feel really good. And there's a lot of personality that is shut off, like the nuance of like your body, like you're on Adderall and you don't realize how much people, depending on the person, but in general, people know. We know something's up. Like there is a certain amount of humanity, a certain amount of like talking with pacing and your body language. It tells everything. Overconfidence, people don't like that. You're closed off and you're tweaking. Like it's just not a social. People know, and it's not a good way to make friends when you're like that, and it's not you. So that's another thing is the more a drug like Adderall works, and the more you're like, oh, this drug's for me, the more I would argue, like unequivocally, um, the more you're losing yourself, because if you can't be off of it and you're just like, you're being efficient and you're doing whatever, it's to me it's a telltale sign that you're actually losing yourself. And that's why I know people that take it every day and it works for them, but I in the time I've done it, I can't see. You can absolutely find ways to mitigate the loss of self, but and I took it to the nth degree. I don't even want to get into all the details. Maybe some, eventually I'm going to talk about exactly what happened, but I just want to again be broad in this video, a little more broad, but I think you can mitigate the effects, and and it's America, so you're working hard, and no one's gonna tell you to stop working so hard at work. That was my problem. I burnt out way too hard, and no one cares if you are working too hard. So that can show in a lot of situations in life. I picture me in my house mowing the lawn, fucking just doing all these different projects, for the last 5 years, and it's like, and I'm all alone in my house. So it's like, what was that even for? I don't know. But I just want to say, if you're on Adderall, and you're starting to get a little worried, post in the comments. I actually will, this one especially, I will be very thoughtful in my responses. If anyone is on Adderall and wants to talk to me, don't sue me. I'm not a professional, but I do have I have a lot of experience. I've done all the research, a lot of the research. Yeah, I genuinely want to. It's one of my biggest passions. Is ADHD, and helping the bros out, with or gals, but I picture myself, 12 years old, all over the place, and I always knew it was different. I always knew that, like, and I flipped it into being like a superpower. I knew that I was like athletic, and I was like, outgoing, and all these things, and just like everything else in society, it's made me very like contrarian and like anti-authority. It was like innate in me, and to me, and nowadays that's like shunned. And I think it's an absolute what's the word? It's a shame that kids are getting, either they're getting or getting drugged with Adderall or whatever to like keep that creative spirit going. And I would argue to some degree, Adderall can completely destroy your trajectory depending on what age you are when you take it. I know it's legally, you can be on it at 3 years old, I think, or 4. I think it's 3. Absolutely insanely criminal if people are doing that. Like, you gotta be post puberty, in my opinion. Like, but what do I know? Point is, it's a passion of mine. I think there's definitely good that can come from Adderall. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, taking it every day. I think that that's another thing that I kind of. It's just the slipperiest drug, because on one hand I look at it, take it every day, right? You get to you if it's a mental disorder, right? And every day, it's not like, oh, I'm off of work, now I'll just be all ADHD. It's like, it doesn't feel good when you can't focus and you're like, ugh, everything's crazy, and you gotta like go jump off a building to like stimulate. You gotta do a backflip, or gotta whatever, do crazy. You're gonna find a way. Drinking, So it's like, yeah, on that one hand, it's like, yeah, take it every day because that's the answer to that. But on the other hand is, well, your body gets used to it. It doesn't have the same effect. Maybe you didn't have time to work out that day while on it. You didn't have time to get outside. I think the worst thing, if you have ADHD, please don't do what I did. unless if you're taking Adderall and you work at a warehouse, just don't do it. Just don't do it. It is such a bad. I got to Google it later. That's like in the top 10 worst jobs for people with ADHD. I had no idea. Absolutely ruined my life. But anyway, so on the other hand, you have I'm not on Adderall right now. I don't know if you can tell, but oh, it's already 15 minutes. Yeah. On the other hand, it's like your body adjusts or doesn't. It get used. You get used to it, so it's hard to have the same. It's almost impossible to take the same dose and have the same results. So that's when the slippery slope comes in, because then it's like, I would argue, what's the point of taking it? You're on 20 milligrams. 2 weeks later, on 20 milligrams, and that 14th day, there's no way it's affecting the same time as day 1, 2, and 3. So it's like, how do you what's the point in taking it? So it's very tricky. But yeah, I just wanted to, again, maybe the last couple minutes of this video, I'll talk about just red flags that you need to get help if you're on Adderall. We'll get a little serious here. Isolating, fidgeting, chewing the side of your mouth, pulling out your facial hair, having these tics that are a little bit weird. I'm just starting to lose. I used to play with my facial hair, chewing the side of my mouth for a decade, and I'm just starting to get better at not doing that. That means you probably need to lower your dose or just start to slow down. So isolating too much, the twitchy stuff, cutting people off, losing friends, finding excuses not to be around people. It's a big one, especially nowadays. It's easy to do. As a society, we've become more and more okay. It's a normative thing too, if that's a word, to isolate and not be around people. And you put Adderall on top of that, it's like that drug you get a little voice in your head. Trust me, over enough time, it's a slippery drug. And so if you're isolating from people and you're losing friends, time to wean off. You're playing a lot of video games. That's a big one. If you're a gamer, it's very easy to play games, and if you're a competitive gamer, you're taking Adderall, and I would recommend not taking Adderall and gaming. You can the time will pass you by, and I would highly recommend not taking it all the time. Maybe for a competitive event, maybe for there's a big tournament, maybe, but it's it's easy to, that's another, I had a lot of experience with that as well. Not to mention, if you're a streamer and you're on Adderall, you're not that personable, so it's better to be yourself. So that was it, 5 things. I don't know, let's go with 6. Maybe we'll end at 6. I'll end the video. But if you're losing work, so for me, I was working and I was always taking Adderall and trying to be efficient. And again, people don't like that. You're not talking to a person like they actually have a soul, because you're losing your soul with that drug. You can be. And if you're losing jobs and you're on Adderall, probably should stop taking Adderall. So I will stop at 6, but I just want to make this video real quick. 19 minutes. We'll end it here. Catch you guys later. Feel free to comment again. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in.